What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by the former Bellator champion, Sergio Pettis, who takes on Magomed Magomedov at PFL Dubai on October 3rd. Sergio, thank you very much for joining me. How are you today, sir?
Oh man, I'm doing well. Just got done training, cleaning up the house a little bit, and yeah, just knocking out some interviews. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. I saw in the last couple of days you had a new baby, and congratulations on that. How's
Thanks so
that
much.
been with in the middle of camp?
Oh, it's been interesting for sure. First fight camp, having to worry about another human being, my little baby. Definitely learning how to be a father during fight camp. It's definitely hard to balance out, the sleep, the putting so much energy on my fight, but also spending time with my son and making sure that he's good as well. Thank God I got a great wife. She makes sure that we're both good, and she took some time off to help me out while I got this fight, and also for her to recover and raise a kid. So things have been good, man. Very very blessed to have a boy.
I was actually talking to JJ Wilson the other day, and he similarly had a child like yourself, and he's fighting on this card too. And
Okay.
he was said to me, it was like waking up 10 times a night and very very tough to get ready. Is that a similar thing to what you've been experiencing?
For sure, man. He's a night owl. My kid, even when he was in the womb, he wouldn't move all day, but when it was nighttime, he'd start moving. As soon as he came out, he's the exact same way, man. He's a night owl. So he'll stay up all night, sleep during the day. Definitely trying to adjust, taking naps when he takes naps, but it's hard when you got stuff to knock out. So yeah, interesting. Waking up 10 times, who would have thought?
Does that mean you have to like push train and move it to different times and things like that? Or are you trying to keep everything the same way you did for previous camps?
The first week it was definitely adjusting my training and my time frames, but I feel like we're kind of figuring things out as we go. He's about 8 days old now, 9 days old, so we're kind of figuring out his schedule, his cues, and when he wants to eat, sleep, or do certain things. So we're definitely getting better at it.
Family is all. I spoke to you a couple of years ago. And we kind of spoke about family has always been a big thing to you. Obviously, you lost your father, and your obviously your brother was a big part of your career as well. Is this a different sort of look at it now? Are you looking at you do it for your family in a different sort of way now that you have obviously a newborn waiting at home when you come home?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. This is gonna be my first fight without my wife in about 12 years. I think since we were 22 years old, she's been to every single one of my fights. So this time, she won't be there. She'll have to deal with our kid, and it's definitely interesting. The mentality. I feel like as much as I gotta wake up at night, I'm not too tired. I definitely am still like I'm hungry to get to work and provide for my kid and make sure that my kid's gonna be okay. And this is my way of providing. Going out there and fist fighting and cage fighting. So. Yeah, man, I think the motivation has changed for sure. I now have a why. For a bit, it was just for myself, and I feel like for this sport, you almost got to do it a little bit more than just for yourself. It's got to have a bigger why, and my son is definitely that.
If someone say was missing their coach or missing a cornerman or whatever, we could understand that's a very tangible thing. But for you to be kind of missing your wife from fight week is, I suppose, an emotional thing or something that you're used to, as you said, for the last 12 years. Is that something you kind of have to plan for? Do you maybe bring someone else, bring a friend along or something like that? Is that something you've thought about?
Nah, I'm just gonna bring my coaches, my brothers coming out. I think it'll be all fine. Obviously before her, I did have a career. I had like, 4 to 5 years without her. So definitely gonna be adjustment. Not getting my back rubbed the night of weight cuts when I'm all hurting and being a little baby. But it's all good, man. She's got a reason to be home, and I got a reason to be away. So we'll definitely play our roles. So no, I feel like it won't be too bad. I got FaceTime, I got phone calls, and definitely gonna miss her and my kid. But I'm gonna come right back right after that fight. I'm gonna be on the first flight home.
I heard you saying recently, just last thing on kind of family, you spoke about yourself and Anthony kind of winning all the belts. Obviously he won the WEC, UFC, you won the Bellator, and you want to put the PFL to it as well. How big of an achievement that would be? And like, you're already up there, but would you think if you did that, you'd stack up as the greatest siblings to ever fight?
I think we'd definitely be in the mentions for sure. I know there's a lot of people like certain siblings that have like certain styles or just like characters like the Diaz brothers, and I think they'll always be like one of the top duo brothers just because of what they brought to the sport and how they changed the sport. But I think definitely if we were the first two brothers to get all the belts, we'll definitely be in that conversation for sure. And that's just a goal of mine. I feel like for us to have almost like all the rings like that one character. I'm not big on Marvel or
Me
whatever,
neither.
but
Thanos, is it? Thanos? Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it.
yeah, Thanos, yeah, Thanos, yeah, Thanos. But yeah, I mean that's how I'd feel, man. Just to get all the belts, that'd be an achievement for both of us, and it create that legacy, man. That'd be forever.
What What do you think your road to that belt is? Like, because there's a lot going on in PFL at the moment. Obviously, we just had a tournament. There's a couple of bantamweight fights of this. What do you think? Obviously, you have the Magomed fight coming up, and we'll talk about that. But you win that. What's the road to the championship?
Man, I'm not sure at this point. I feel like if I take out Raufeon Stots and I take out Magomed Magomedov, those are pretty top tier guys in my division that I feel like almost could earn a title shot at that point alone. But I'm not sure, as far as Elvis, him being a champion for the tournament, I'm not sure if they'd be open to having tournament champion versus contender. So maybe that's a possibility, but if not, I got to compete in the tournament next year. I'm more than open to do that. I would love to do that.
What did you think of the tournament this year? What did you think of the standard? I know there was a lot of shocks and things. Were you tuning in?
Yeah, I was definitely shocked by the results in some of these fights. I had other guys winning fights, but Elvis came through and pretty much walked through everybody, and he was a late replacement fight, so it's pretty cool to see that. I actually got to offer that fight to fight Leandro Higo back when his opponent got hurt. Around that time, I had an injury, so I couldn't. So yeah, Elvis took that spot, beat Leandro Higo, and now he's a champion. Won the tournament. So yeah, it's interesting, definitely interesting. Some good matchups coming along.
What do you think of Mr. Ali Alves as a fighter? Obviously, as you kind of mentioned, he kind of came from nowhere. A lot of people wouldn't know him, but now we know him very well because of the level of people he's beaten. What do you think of him as a fighter first and as an opponent?
I think he's a beast, man. I like his style. He's got a similar style to me, like takedown defense, throw some punches. He throws some heat. That guy's got some power in his hands. I like that about him. He'll go out there and slug with you. So I respect that and I appreciate that. Most of the guys I fight take me down, try to hold me down. So I think that's a matchup that the crowd would like to see, and the PFL should make for sure. Two bangers that want to go out there and stand up. That's what everybody tunes into fights for, to be honest. Like those type of fights. So I get through Magomedov. I'm gonna definitely push for that Elvis fight.
I heard there's another, as I mentioned, there's another bantamweight fight on this card as well. Kaelan Loughran is fighting
Yep.
Lewis McGrillen, and I heard Kaelan Loughran saying in the last couple of weeks they're above you on the card. So he was like,
Yep.
"There's a reason we are, and we're going to be the next guys in line." I don't know. Did you hear those comments, and what do you think of that?
I really don't pay attention to those comments too much, but now that I understand and hear those comments, I mean it's cool. I mean over there he definitely has probably more of a fan base, overseas, and there's a lot of Irish over there, a lot of Muslims in Dubai. For me, I haven't been out there, so we'll see how it goes. But if you go into the fight road, both of those guys are not as known as me and Magomed Magomedov. Those guys are still making their way up, so it's cool. Whatever they could put on the card ahead of us, but in reality, they ain't ahead of us. They're just right below us, a couple fights below us. So, yeah, we'll see how things go. I'm a big fan of both of them, though. I like their styles, Loughran and McGrillen. They throw, they go hard. Loughran was in the UFC, so I've been watching him for a while. McGrillen, I kind of just started watching him, but interesting matchup. I would love to fight both those guys. That's what I'm here for, fighting all these guys. They want to fight me, let's do it.
Is that that's kind of next thing I was going to ask you, because between now and the tournament starting next year, if that was the route you go, or the other two lads go, obviously there's a lot of time. Would you be willing maybe to fight the winner of that before the tournament starts next year?
Man, sign me up for it all. I'm 32 years old. I'm trying to fight every single month if I can. I got a baby to take care of. I'm trying to get busy. I only got a couple years left in the sport. So if these guys want to go at it before the year's over, let's do it. If I'm healthy, I would love to. I came healthy out of the Raufeon fight, bounced back 2 months later. I would love to have a quick turnaround again before the year's over. So, hey, man, whatever the PFL wants me to do, I'm here to do it all. They signed me, so I'm here and obligated to them. I'm going to stay true to them and come out here and perform my best and get this belt.
Just before I move on, you just mentioned an injury as well. Was the injury kind of a serious thing that kept you out of that Higo fight, or was it kind of a small thing? Where did that come from?
It was a small injury that could have led into something a little bit more serious if I didn't take care of it. As soon as I felt that injury, I took some time off and played it smart. But me being as active I am in MMA, even without a fight, I'm always in the gym. So I do get injured here and there, small things. Even that Rafian fight, man, I went to that fight with a really bad rib cartilage injury. So I didn't get prepared the way I'd like to prepare it, and I went in there and still felt that rib. Not taking anything away from his performance or my performance, but this fight with Magomed, I'm coming in healthy. I feel good. I'm ready. This is somebody I don't know too well, and I'm ready to go out there and end this man. And this is a good opportunity for me to go out there and make sure that PFL knows who I am.
You spoke about obviously not knowing him too well. Your last about Rafi Stots, you knew very well, obviously coming out of the same gym as you. Was that a bit just that fight, just all a bit odd, was it, or how did you
Oh my
feel about
god.
that fight?
It was odd. Even the fight week, I had teammates that trained with me and Raufeon that was in my corner. He had teammates that trained with us that was in his corner. I'm really cool with his coach, Eves Edwards. So, man, during that whole fight week, honestly, I was hanging out with Raufeon. I was hanging out with his coaches. You know, it was really a whole different fight experience. It was the first time I went into a fight that I didn't, not that I didn't care if I win or lost, but it was just like, you know, if he wins, he deserves it. You know, if I win, I deserve it. If I lose, so be it. If he loses, so be it. It wasn't like how I want to win, you know, with this Magomed fight. I want to win this fight. With that Raufeon fight, it was just like, bro, I barely want to do this fight, but I need to get busy and get back to work.
But was there any talk between you that like we're not going to take this fight? Give us two other people, and or was it just look, that's the fight that's been made, let's do it?
Yeah, man. Me and Raufeon were paired to fight each other back in 2022. You know, that's when we are supposed to fight each other, and we were currently training at the same gym. I remember as soon as I got the belt, we were in the parking lot together, and we both came back to the gym like 2 or 3 days later. And he comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, man, my manager's telling me, you know, me and you are probably going to be next. Is that something that you want to do? If that's okay with you?" And I'm like, you know, Raufeon, my brother, bro. Like, I'm not gonna not say no because you know everybody deserves their opportunity, and I want you to have your opportunity. So we were ready to fight each other 2022. Unfortunately, I tore my ACL. Yeah, as soon as I got the opportunity, I said yeah right away. And then Raufeon calls me about an hour, 2 hours later. He's like, "Hey man, I hear you're next. Let's do this, man. It is what it is. You know, you got a kid on the way. I got a kid on the way, and we got to provide. And it is what it is. Business is business. So we left it at that."
100%. I wanted to ask you because you're very uniquely placed to answer this as someone who's gone from the UFC over to Bellator and had great success. A lot of the fighters who've gone the other way from Bellator PFL to the UFC have had a terrible time of it over the last year, you know, and you fought a couple of them, even Mix, Pitbull, and Pico as well to turn there. Is it just a massive difference changing promotions whichever way you go? What do you feel there's any reason why that has kind of happened with so many people in a row?
You know what? It's a weird thing, but when you go from the UFC to like Bellator or PFL, you almost think like the level is a lot lower. So then you don't. I feel like some people don't prep the same way that they prep for these UFC fights or these, you know, these other fights. So they go in there with that mentality and they have a rude awakening. You know, there's some good guys in other organizations that are fucking hungry, and when they're hungry and they got that will and that want, they can take out a lot of guys. And then vice versa, you got guys that have been smashing people in Bellator and PFL, they go over to the UFC, you know, I feel like they have a lot of tension on them. They have a lot of pressure on them, and they don't almost know how to deal with it. Not only that, the level in the UFC is really high. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys are all really good. Your first fight in the UFC, you're gonna get fed to the dogs if you're a champion of another organization. I mean, Pico, he fought um, Murphy. Murphy's a goddamn beast coming off of 8 wins. I mean, Mario Bautista, eight win streak, you know, in the UFC against top tier guys. Um, Pitbull fought Yair. That style is a hard matchup for anybody. Yair's a beast. So, you know, it's not like they're coming in here and feeding them some walkthrough fights. They're coming in there and they're testing them right away. And maybe it takes a couple tests for some guys to get comfortable. But I think, you know, Patchy will find success in the cage. I mean, Patricio found it his last fight. Pico, you know, I think once he heals up and, you know, take some time, he can come back and find success as well. It's just, it's definitely different levels, different mentalities, but, you know, it's a fight at the end of the day. You got to adjust. It's on the fighter.
So you're fighting on October 3rd, Magomed. What do you think of him as an opponent? Obviously, as you mentioned earlier, two of the top guys in the promotion. This was almost inevitably going to happen. Have you been watching him for a long time? Is it what do you think of him?
Oh, for sure. I've been watching him for a long time, man. I've been watching him even before I even knew who he was. You know, I was watching Peter Yan fights and watching him compete against Peter Yan. He beat Peter Yan back in the days, and then Peter Yan obviously beat him back. But you know, I was interested in his style and just interested in what he does. And then obviously going into Bellator, I knew he was going to be around. So I've been watching him for the past about 6 to 7 years, honestly. And I think he's a beast, bro. He's good everywhere. He's a great wrestler. He's got stand up. He's got spin kicks. He's got a big frame for 35. He's a tough fight for anybody, especially with that Dagestani style. Those guys prepare for fights really well. They know how to win fights. And where he's really good is where people try to take me to win fights. So, you know, it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure.
It's funny, you know, we just talked about Patchy Mix a few minutes ago. His fight against Patchy Mix, obviously he lost that and it was a split decision, but I think a lot of people coming into Patchy Mix's UFC debut were looking at that fight and seeing the issues he actually gave Patchy on the feet in that fight. And, you know, Bautista
Yep.
did very similar things. You look at his, even the name Magomed Magomedov, you think he's just got to wrestle you, but he can fight on the feet as well, can't he?
Oh,
What are
for
some of the
sure.
issues maybe that he could pose to you or pose to anyone on the feet?
Yeah, man, I think he's a good striker in general. He's tricky. You know, he's got spin kicks. He's got good basics. He understands angles. He's a fighter for a long time. You know, he's not stupid. He's smart. He knows what he's doing, and just his frame. You know, he's a longer frame. He's got interesting angles. He switches stances, so he's definitely tricky, man. Tricky for any fighter. And then for me, if I can't get going with my striking. It's gonna be a rough night for me, obviously, and if he beats me in the striking field and gets me to the floor as well, it could definitely be a rough night for me. So I'm gonna make sure I'm prepped, man. I'm gonna make sure I'm prepped.
I saw in last couple of questions. I really appreciate the time, Sergio. I saw you were coaching some people on your Instagram there over the last while. Is a fight like this? Is something like that needed for a fight like this, where the basics are really important? I would say, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but against a guy like Magomedov, who is really good at striking, really good wrestling, and all that, does coaching people and getting back to the basics help going into a fight like this?
Oh, for sure, man. The basics go so far, man. Flash is trash without basics. I stand with the basics. A strong base is important, especially something to fall back on when you lose, yourself in the fight. It gets a little bit scary. If I could fall back to your basics and fall back to what you know, something I've been doing my whole career, you'll be fine. So yeah, I believe the basics are important for this fight. Having a high IQ, just putting him in an uncomfortable position, but also just doing a different rhythm, doing a different math. Play chess while he's playing checkers type of thing. So that's what I'm going to try to do out there. Dictate the range, utilize my full body, keep the space, and get to work, man. Get to striking. I want to hurt this man. I know he wants to hurt me. We both got 15 minutes to do it, and we're both hungry. So it's gonna be a war.
I'm really looking forward to Sergio. Thank you very much for joining me. Everyone, tune
Thank
in.
you.
See Sergio Pettis versus Magomed Magomedov, PFL Dubai, October 3rd. Thank you again, Sergio.
Man. Thank you, boss. Have a good one.
Love it.